Well, hey, Dave Melenda here, Positive Polarity Podcast. Hope things are going awesome for you this week. I know there's a bunch of you around the world that are always looking to find ways to start your own business. It's something that a lot of people have as a dream. So if that's you, you are going to be super excited with our guest this week. I'm honored to be hanging out with John Hewitt. He wants to be called the Great-Grandaddy of Tax. So that's what we're going to call him today. How are you today, my friend?
I'm incredible. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks for hanging out. You're also the CEO of Loyalty Brands Incorporated. So fill us in on what is Loyalty Brands Incorporated?
Loyalty Brands is we have 8 different franchise systems that under an umbrella that's Loyalty Brands.
And what are some of those?
The easiest to talk about, the fastest growing, are tax. I've been in taxes for 55 years. Just finished my tax season, but growing even faster, and after being in tax for over 50 years, it's surprising to me, but I love the pet industry, and our fastest growing brand is a mobile grooming, which is Zoomin Groomin.
Zoomin Groomin. Wow, that's so cool. So obviously, um, franchising is something that is near and dear to your heart. Has that been in your whole career, John? Is that something that you've seen? When did that start? Or was that always out there, or is that just coming alive in the last 20 or 30 years?
Actually, I started as soon as I started with H&R Block. I was working in a franchise system. They were one of the major first franchise systems. There was the industry in 1969, 1970 was largely unregulated. So it was a wild west out there.
Wow. And so when people hear franchise, I guess if you could kind of help us understand in your mind, what does that mean? What is a franchise? Because there's probably a lot of people with a lot of different ideas on what that is.
Yeah, basically, it generally, and this is almost always, it's you get a license to operate a system and a brand name in an exclusive area. That's usually what a franchise is. So the key to franchising is having a system of doing business.
So how experienced does somebody need to be? Because I mean, business ownership sounds really glamorous, and then there's the reality of it. So sometimes it's not as glamorous as people think. So I'm just curious if somebody's listening, John, and they don't have necessarily experience of starting a business, they don't know how to grow a business, there's certain things they're not aware of. Do typical franchises help them with that type of information?
Yeah, there's 2 parts to that. One is that 2/3 of Americans want to be self-employed, but only half of them can. So
Okay.
the first hurdle you have to overcome is, should you be self-employed? Do you have the risk tolerance? Do you have the startup, the drive, the get up and go, the discipline when no one's your boss and it's all up to you? So that's the first hurdle. And then the second hurdle is you have to develop a system. Whatever business you have, it's chaos until you develop a system. So the key to a great franchise is having a great system.
So I want to kind of unpack that risk tolerance piece that you said, John, because that to me, how do people know if they're risk tolerant? That seems like that's a big unknown. If I've never done a business before, how do I know if I am or if I am not risk tolerant, for instance?
I'm not sure because I'm such a risk taker. So, but I've helped 5,200 franchisees in my career, 5,200 franchisees. I helped them start, and about 90% were had sufficient risk tolerance, but about
Okay.
10% didn't. And so the my guess is, since I can't identify with it, but I've seen it. My guess is, in your past, when you faced adversity, Did you fall down and stay down, or did you get up and keep going? The
Gotcha.
risk tolerance to me is never say die. I'm going to be in there. I'm going to get up. I'm going to get knocked down and get up again, knocked down again and get up again. So if you face that in a school, in a sport, in a relationship, I mean, if you face that adversity and
Sure.
overcome it, then I would say yes. And if you've faced adversity and just walked away, then I would say no, you don't have the risk tolerance necessary.
Gotcha. That's really great. And I think that that's probably a big blind spot for people thinking that once they start a business, it's just going to always be there. It's going to be successful. So, I'm never going to fall down. I'm never going to have to contemplate giving up, So I think that's really encouraging to realize that, even at the big names of companies that you've worked with, you've seen that type of people, or people have had that issue. They fall down. There's critical situations, crises. And do you see certain people that just they give the white flag comes out early and they tend to give up?
Yep. And Dave, the 10 most important two-letter words that you need to understand when you go into business. If it is to be, it is up to me. There's no one else. There's no one else. You can't call on your father, your mother, your friend, your enemy. You can't. I mean, if it is to be, it's up to me. You have to understand that the buck stops here. And
Yeah.
I've never seen one human being that skated through without adversity.
And that's just, I think, really kind of good wisdom to go into your business potential venture if you're listening with your eyes wide open, knowing that there's going to be that type of issue. So you founded Jackson Hewitt and Liberty Tax. Those are two very big, well-known names. So when you founded like Jackson Hewitt, for instance, I mean, how long was it before you encountered your first white flag, incident for yourself, if you can remember that?
Oh, sure, that's real easy. We bought a company called Mel Jackson Tax Service, and he had died, and we bought it from his widow, and his widow was into the ministry,
Okay.
and she said, we have these two key people, Audrey Myers and Brenda Smith, and these are your two key people that they want to stay with the company. They've been here between them 30 years, and they're your two go-to people, and they are looking forward to working with you. We went and signed the deal, and the same day both of them quit. And both of them not only did they quit, but they both competed. And so today still there is Audrey Myers Tax Service competing with Jackson Hewitt.
Okay.
And Brenda's, when she died, I think, and they closed her office. But we had in Portsmouth, Virginia, we had Brenda's Tax Service, and everyone that had filed at Mel Jackson knew Brenda in
Okay.
Portsmouth, and everyone that filed in Norfolk knew Audrey. So the first day, minutes after starting, slam your slam. And so most people would throw up their hands and say, "Oh no, what do I do now?"
Wow. So this is minutes into your brand new venture. You're already experiencing controversy and conflict. So so what was your thought? What was your like next step? What did you
Uh,
do?
I'm going to beat them up. I'm going to we're going to we're going to put them out of business. We're going to excel, and they're yesterday's news. We're the new kid on the block.
So that sounds, I mean, again, for somebody listening, that sounds kind of egotistical. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but how do you like balance that ego with the reality? And I don't want to sound that way, but I'm really, how do you work with confidence versus ego? How does that work for you guys?
Yeah, I think it's the way I think of it in my life. I've been self-confident as long as I can remember. But when I was in high school, in junior high and middle school, and less elementary school, it's unproven. You're cocky.
Mhm.
And I've lectured my oldest son many times. Son, you're just as cocky as me, but I've proven it. So at some point, it changes from cockiness to self-confidence, right?
Gotcha.
And
Yeah.
so, but you got to prove yourself, right?
Sure.
Talk is so cheap, right?
Yeah.
Almost everyone talks a great game, and almost no one delivers a great game. So success, it's this simple. Success in life is doing what you say you're going to do.
Wow. Who would have thought that that would make that you could boil it down to that being that simple, right? I mean, there's so many different things that people think of when they think of success, and you're saying that it boils down to doing what you're saying you're going to do. Um, I'm just curious. Did you start with one location originally for
We
your
bought
for
six.
the
We bought six offices from Mel Jackson's widow.
okay. And then did they close all those or did those migrate to that right away? Or where did they stay with you?
Oh yeah, over the years we developed them
Okay.
and added 6,000 more. So
Well,
we
and
went from
that's such,
six to 6,000.
wow. And that's such a great story. And I'm trying to understand, John, what's like, was that in your visions at the beginning that you wanted to see that growth?
Remember, I'm self-confident, and
Yeah.
in addition to being self-confident, I set big, hairy, audacious goals. So
Okay.
when we bought Mel Jackson, H&R Block had 9,000 locations, and we set our sights that I'm a fierce competitor. So I want to have one more location than H&R Block. So I want to get to 9,001 locations. So I wanted to go from six to 9,000, and
Wow.
only got to 6,000, but it became $1 billion company.
Sure. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. And I'm just curious for somebody listening, if they don't have that vision for their company or for their franchise, how do you like I mean, if they're able, they say I'd be happy with 6 or I want to stop at 10. Was there something um for you that was like magical about being the biggest, or was there, I mean, I'm just because there are people listening right now, John, that are like, that's way too big of a goal for me. How do you pare that down, or what do you say to that person that doesn't understand that goal?
Well, I say, yeah, I walk you're right, it is too big. I walk the tightrope of crazy. I'm on, I could fall either way into sane or insane, right? That's crazy goal. But I don't encourage everyone to do that.
Okay.
But I do encourage everyone to set stretch goals. And for some people, a stretch goal would be 5 offices. Some might be one office. Some might be 100 or 5,000. But I encourage everyone to be all you can be. That God didn't put you on earth just to relax. And I mean, my favorite story in the Bible is the talent story. You have to utilize your talent. So
Sure.
yes, I challenge everyone I know to set stretch goals. Very few people are going to be as crazy as me and make them that outrageous.
Sure. And how long did it take you to go from 6 to 6,000, John?
It took 22 years.
Okay. Did you have that mapped out, or was it just because sometimes people map everything out? Did you have a strategy to get you from 6 to 6,000?
I've never seen anyone that mapped out more than 2 or 3 years in advance. You set a map out, you set a plan, and then it's sort of like Mike Tyson said, right? I think it was Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan until you get in boxing, until you get hit in the face, right?
Yeah.
And in business, I had a plan. I mean, we had plans every year, and every year we'd set 5-year goals, 3-year goals, and then back it down into 1-year goal. But remember, I walked into a disaster. I walked
Yeah.
into, okay, the two the two people managing this company, they resigned on the first day. So yeah, once you get hit in the face, then your plan changes.
And you mentioned, that's so funny. So we've been talking about the risk tolerance and the discipline. The second thing that you talked about was having a system. And is that kind of where the franchise world comes in? Is like you've created a system for success for this particular brand, whatever it is?
That's exactly right. And keep in mind, not every franchise system is good. Only about a third of franchises are good, are high quality. But each high quality franchise, like a McDonald's, for example, or a Zoomin Groomin, I mean, each high quality franchise has a high quality system. I mean, when you think about McDonald's, right, Dave, I have my youngest grandchild, and I have 5 grandchildren, by the way, but a great grandchild. But my youngest grandchild is 11 years old, and he could go into a grocery store and buy some hamburger and buy some condiments and some buns and make a higher quality hamburger than McDonald's. But McDonald's, no one makes more money from selling hamburgers than McDonald's. They don't have the best tasting milkshake. They don't have the best tasting Coca-Cola. They don't have the best tasting hamburger. What do they have? An incredible machine system that includes location, includes hours, cleanliness, the quickness of service. It includes a lot of things. Those are what you get when you have a successful business, whether it's a franchise or not a franchise. You have to have a system of doing business.
And is that where Loyalty Brands then comes in to help with that system?
You guessed it exactly. So we mentor all of our brands and give them guidance as to how to develop a system. And some of the system things we do are the same across brands, right? Because customers are customers. So some of our policies go across all brands.
Wow, that's awesome. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, John, I really want to kind of unpack that franchise piece and help the listener understand how they could get more involved in that and if that's something for them. So we'll be right back. Well, welcome back. I'm hanging out with John Hewitt, who is the CEO of Loyalty Brands, also previously of Jackson Hewitt and Liberty Tax. And we're actually kind of at a cool spot because I don't know how many entrepreneurs here, John, really consider franchising. I know for myself personally, I get an occasional LinkedIn request from somebody that has a franchise that is interested to see if I'm interested in it. So you were in tax your whole life, so that was kind of natural for you. Do you get people like you were talking about, like mobile dog grooming? Does somebody have to have like a passion for animals in that situation? Is that helpful, or what are some things that you look for to see if this is going to be a successful person or not?
Yeah, again, a couple of things. Number one is we're 2.5 years old in grooming, and we just got our 100th franchise. So it's growing very, very exponentially. And in 8 months, we'll have 200, and in 12 months after that, we'll have 400. And so we're really growing rapidly. And there's only one thing in common with all of my groomers, my franchises. Okay. Only 4 or 5 of them know how to groom, but all of them own a dog.
Okay.
So all of them love pets. And my general theory in life is find something you love to do, work hard, and persevere. And so, yeah, you got to love what you do. And, with me, it's thank God it's Monday. You're going to work on Monday, you're not looking forward to it, you're going the wrong place. Yeah. Life's way, way too short. So you should love what you do and love your industry and your company or whatever you're doing. But most importantly, in a franchise system, My job is to give you the best system in the industry. I've been doing that for 55 years. If I do my job, your job is to follow that system. Now, Dave, you would think that's automatic. If you joined the tax industry, you probably don't have 1 minute of experience. I have 55 years that I've been thinking
Right.
about and operating
Sure.
it, and I've made every mistake or seen every mistake
Sure.
multiple times. So why would you not listen to me if I said that on April 15th you need to stay open 24 hours? Why would you stay open 12 hours? I mean,
Right.
that's what you get. You get a beautiful system. But out of the 5,200 franchisees I've brought into my career, not one has listened 100%. It's the toughest thing to do. Human beings cannot listen. They have to
Sure.
be inventive and creative and stupid.
So there are people that are naturally thinking outside the box, right? That's what they do. Their personality just goes there. And then there's people that love that defined system for living. Have you noticed, John, if one type of personality is better or worse for that franchise life? Is there one better?
Yeah, the if I think back about all the people that I've helped and changed lives, it's actually believe it or not, the people that are the most creative
Okay.
are the best franchises if and only if they can modify their behavior. Because the system powers are so plodding and so slow and so methodical that they can't um, go the extra mile. They're so careful about going the mile, they can't go the extra mile. So it has to be someone in their life who's gone the extra mile. And again, it's not just related to business. It could be in school. They could be in sports. It could be in their career. But it's people that are willing to go the extra mile. And they say there's very little traffic on the extra mile.
Wow. Yeah. And I know we're all consumers, right? So we know when the extra mile has been taken from us as a consumer when somebody's gone that extra mile on our side. So that's really, really great stuff. I'm curious on the partnership side, have you seen more success for your franchise owners if they are a solopreneur where it's one individual versus, two people trying to accomplish the same goal? Have you noticed anything there that works one way or the other?
Really, I haven't seen any advantage to either way,
Okay.
except this, that I've seen dozens and dozens of divorces of partners.
Yeah.
So, other than that,
Wow.
in terms of ultimate success in number of revenue and net worth and profit, doesn't matter. It can be life changing in
Sure.
restoring partnerships, even a husband and wife. It may be brothers, it may be father son. I've seen all kinds of divorces among partners, but as far as the performance, no change.
Okay. Gotcha. That's good to know. I mean, I would think that it would just be easier up front, but I can see how it gets harder the longer you go down that road if you're not in agreement with your partner. So that can be a challenge. So I just want to work off this groomers piece for a minute. So if somebody's listening and they are in this case a dog lover, an animal lover, and they have a creative streak to them, but they've never actually done any business. They don't understand the growth. They don't understand how to acquire customers. They don't know how to look for rental space. I mean, there's just a plethora of things that they're not aware of, which generally probably prohibit them from going any further. Does loyalty brands help come alongside those types of people and help them with those decisions?
We do everything.
Okay.
So if you say, do we help? Does the franchisor help with this? What blank? We help with everything, every common situation, starting your corporation, hiring, firing, contracts, how much you charge, how to advertise, I mean, every single element of the business we help with, because that's what we're here for, to streamline, to put you with a system that can enables you to be number one in the market.
Wow, that's great. I'm assuming then that if, like you said, if they have if you built a system, if I jump in on this and I choose to only take parts of that system, I'm assuming that's where you start to see franchise failure then?
Exactly. I've out of my 5,200 franchises, 1,000 millionaires, 1,000 failures. The millionaires listen 98 or 99% of the time. The failures listen less than 90% of the time. I can promise you that when you don't listen to me, it's going to cost you time or money or both.
Yeah. And even if it doesn't, and that's where it's got to be tough, John, because if it doesn't pass, if I can't reason a way to see your side, naturally humans are just going to go their own way. Like, it might be a blind spot for them. John doesn't know what he's talking about. John doesn't understand our market. John doesn't understand the customer. I mean, I'm assuming you get those types of resistance when you
That's
with
it.
those 1,000 failures.
That's exactly what they say. That might work in Los Angeles and Virginia Beach and Chicago, but that doesn't work in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And John doesn't know Buffalo. So, yeah, what I know is in the tax business, for example, I know that there are 50 successful H&R Block offices, and we have a system that's better than theirs. So that's what they think, and it's just stupid. And what they're so to me, I guess stupid isn't a great word, but I want you to think if you join the tax industry today, Dave, and what's the chances that you're going to think of something that I never thought of? In my 55 years,
0.
365 days a year, I've been thinking about this. Not only, but you're not going to think of anything. But in addition to that, there's not going to be anything that you think of that we haven't tried or seen tried. So whatever you come up with, right? Whatever you come up with, someone else has thought of it. And it's been tried and failed. Otherwise, it would be part of the system, right? So if you're so naive to believe that you're going to outsmart not only John Hewitt, but the history of the tax preparation industry, you're the god that invented this one philosophy. That's just crazy. That's just crazy.
That's probably more egotistical than anything you could think, right? Thinking that you're so much higher above, right?
Exactly. When you talk about ego, the people that have been most successful have made the most mistakes. God humbles me every single day, if not every single hour or every single minute, right? I'm beat down by God all the time, right? I screw up all the time. So you're not going to be able to make a mistake that I haven't made.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, so powerful, John, to have that type of, it's almost like a coach. It's almost like, a mentor. It's somebody that, excuse me, has gone before you, gone before me, seen everything that is pretty much out there and is able to say, hey, here's an upcoming pothole. Here's an enemy right here. Don't take this turn, take that turn. So I can see the power of that. What do you feel like is the biggest hurdle that most people, where do franchises get stuck? If you had to kind of label a couple of things, when you look at the failures, what are some of the things that they got stuck on?
Well, remember, it's not following the system. And then the second thing is if it is to be, it is up to me. They don't, they run into a hurdle. So let's say that here's an example, that you're a new franchisee and you order some coupons to be delivered on January 6th, and they're not delivered. So meantime, you call up and scream at someone and say, give me my coupons, it's over. And instead of going right over to the printer right down the street and getting me 5,000 coupons. Yeah. Meantime, you're screaming and hollering, and coupons aren't being delivered. So instead of solving problems, they whine and complain and blame others when
Yeah.
there are things that need to be accomplished. And without excuse, on this day, on January 6th, you need 5,000 coupons distributed. If there's something that happens that, like a late delivery or an error, you have to overcome adversity and
Sure.
get it done.
Wow. I'm wondering because we see this locally on occasion where, and we'll use your dog groomer as an example. So if we sign up for a franchise and we're going along and life is good, I'm assuming there are certain people that look at the whatever they pay you for whatever your services are. Do you see people are like, "Oh my gosh, I can do this cheaper. I can do this. I got the head start from John. Now I'm going to do this on my own." I mean, and change names and kind of go on my own. Do you see that very much, or are your brands pretty loyal when it comes to this?
Absolutely, it happens every year. I would say 2 or 3% of the franchisees bolt and do it themselves. Now,
Okay.
99% of them fail, and some of them I tell them, you know what, I'm not even gonna make you honor your non-compete. You're no competition. So yeah, there are instances where what I found with large groups of people, there are always crooks. I mean, somewhere between 3 to 5% of people are crooks.
Mhm.
And by the way, this franchise signed an agreement that they're not going to compete with me for 2 years.
Sure.
So they'll go and take down this. They'll violate the agreement. They'll take
Sure.
down the sign, and they'll try to compete. Um, so it's we expect that to happen, and so we're that's that's happened throughout eternity, right? People are going to cheat on the system, but
Sure.
the superstars, instead of going and competing, they get more locations. They if I'm with Zoomin Groomin, they'll get more vans. They won't have their own van and try to compete. They'll just get more Zoomin Groomin van. They understand the value of the system, and
Mm.
you actually make more money by being part of a national name. I mean, think about McDonald's gets to charge more. When they sell the business, they get to sell it for more. It's a lot better than Dave's Hamburger.
Sure. Wow. So as we start to land the plane today, I kind of want to understand a little bit of the cost, whatever you feel comfortable sharing, because there's obviously a cost for your knowledge. There's a cost for that system. So do different franchises, how do typical franchises charge the franchisee and what are some best practices that you've seen, John?
Yeah, there's best practices and there's worst practices. So most franchisors, I said, are failures, and they charge for everything, right?
Okay.
A renewal fee, a application fee, a come to the convention fee. I mean, just they nickel and dime you with fee. The best franchisors like us, we just charge you an initial startup to
Okay.
get you up and trained and going, and then an ongoing royalty that's fair. The the success of a franchise system comes down to this simple phrase: happy, successful franchisees. If the franchisee makes money and I don't, it doesn't work. If I make money and you don't, it doesn't work. So it comes down to setting up a system, and franchisees almost all think this. If pretend your royalty is 8%. So get $100 for a customer. They collect 100 and they think they have to pay you 8. They don't understand the customer is paying me 8 and you 92. They think
Right.
of it as their money. So, but it's
Sure.
a shared system of many things that we do for them that make them more successful.
Wow, that's so cool. So yeah, so I'm guessing somebody thinking about a franchise, if Zoomin Groomin is not available, if it's available, I should say, in their area, it becomes the goal is a win-win because like you said, if you make money and they don't, they're not going to stick around. If they make money and you don't, then there's no way that you can support them with marketing and all the business that you do. So, do most people understand a win-win early on, or are they try? Is it kind of adversarial at first?
No, usually it starts out with they're like a child. I think of them as children.
Okay.
So usually it starts out that they're elementary school children, and they're looking up to you like you're an icon and you're great and I love this, and then they become teenagers, right? And they know better than you, and they're going to live forever, and then they finally come back to their senses again.
Sure.
But so they go through. There's a book. I have to try to remember the name of it. I don't remember the name of it. Street Smart Franchising, where he takes you through all the stages of and if you read it, you'll see the common is by Dave Matthews, and he talks about the stages of being a franchisee, and from being a child and to being a know-it-all and coming back to reality.
Oh, yeah. Well, and so I'm guessing when people leave franchises, that's usually at that teenager stage where they, feel like they can do this on their own and they don't need you. And is that generally accurate?
Yes.
Do a lot of people come back afterwards, or do they kind of just
Only
float
about
away?
one out of every 30
Okay,
come back.
gotcha. Wow. There's so much here. Thank you so much for sharing this. I just have a question for you as we let you go. What would your tip of the day be for somebody listening? Maybe it's something that you've already shared. Maybe it's something on your heart. But what would be a good tip for somebody listening right now?
Um, Again, to be successful in anything, find something you love to do, work hard, persevere.
Wow, that's great. That is so cool. Hey, if somebody wants to learn more about loyalty brands, John, or they want to learn more about you, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
John at loyaltybrands.com. And if they
Okay.
send me their address, I'll send them my book for free. It's an Amazon bestseller. You can get it on Amazon. But if you send me your address, John at loyaltybrands.com, I'll be glad to send you a free book.
And it's I Compete, How My Extraordinary Strategy for Winning Can Be Yours. That's so cool. Thank you. Thank you for that free opportunity. Jackson Hewitt and Liberty Tax. Again, most people listening have heard of that. This John Hewitt is the founder of those. And again, how cool of a imprint that you've made on all these people, and then all the people that they've made differences in their life. So thank you so much for sharing that. Thanks for dedicating your life to this. And I can't wait to keep learning from you. I might have to send you my address. I'd love to read your book.
Oh, we've already sent you one. You're set.
Oh my gosh, it's on the way. Well, thank you. You're the great-granddaddy of tax. How cool is that? You're almost 80 and going strong. With 75, I think you said you're 70 and
Yep.
75 going strong. That is so cool. So again, thank you for your 50 years of experience. And thank you for helping somebody today with their dream, turning their dream into a reality of owning their own business. And hey, maybe it's going to be Zoomin Groomin. You never know, right?
And in 3 years, Zoomin Groomin is going to be a national name, just like Liberty and Jackson Hewitt.
Oh, oh my gosh. Zoomin Groomin. You've heard it here first. So thanks, John. I appreciate all your time.
Thanks, Dave. Pleasure